Hello, my YouTube friends. Well, here's another Patreon video for you. I'm going to be giving you one every Friday. As a patron on the Patreon channel, A Better Life with Kat, you will get 5 of these videos every single week. Another bonus is that there are no advertisements on the Patreon channel, and I have the ability to answer your questions and comment if I think it's appropriate. On the YouTube channel, you'll notice I just give you a little heart that lets you know that I've read your comment, and I really appreciate it. I just don't have the ability to answer all of your questions on the YouTube channel. So come on over. It's only $5 a month, no advertising, and I think you'll really enjoy it, and we'd love you to be part of our Patreon family. Thanks again for watching, and always remember that you are beautiful. Hello, my lovely friends. It's me, Kat, and today we're going to get into more of our basic weekly plan. So where we left off was Tuesday, our free day. So now we're going to Wednesday, which is our planning and desk day. And I think it's apropos that it is in the middle of the week because it is the apex of our basic weekly plan. Plan is the key word. Planning is so key to what we're doing. And I talk about it all the time. If you don't plan, it's not going to happen, right? So if you plan to fail if you fail to plan. That's an old axiom. So what I want you to do is get out your planner or whatever it is that you use to plan on. It could be a calendar, could be a Google online app. It doesn't matter what it is, just that you plan. And so on Wednesdays, the day you review your plans, I recommend that you plan out your week on Sunday evening. If you have a minute to sit down and put in the birthdays for the week, put in the anniversaries, put the appointments that you have, and then fill out your routines and the work that you're going to be doing in your house, your zone, unless you're working on a project, okay? Then you don't do zones. And should you get sick or have emergency guests or something you didn't know about, you can drop back to routines and don't worry about the other things because they'll come around next week and next month. It's not the end of the world. This is the beauty of this system, but the most beautiful part of it is if you plan, you're going to find chunks of time for yourself, chunks of time. And that's what this is about, finally loving yourself, right? Fly, F-L-Y, finally loving yourself. So I want you to fly. And until you do that, you're going to have to keep practicing and practicing, okay? So we're going to plan. Get out your planner, plan it out, just like I said. And then on Wednesday, look at it again and see, oh, what's happening? How's it going? You really want to look at it every evening. But on Wednesday, look at it purposefully and see what might need to bleed over to next week and put that in, okay? Your meals, I suggest you put your meal plan in there, everything that's a plan. And then follow the plan. Planning all day doesn't do you any good until you follow it. I've said that before. You'll hear me say these things over and over again because they're just truths. They're just truths. So the next thing you want to do on planning day is balance your checking account. Now, if you have never balanced your checking account or it's been a long time since you balanced your checking account, go to the bank and have them give you a couple of the check registers. And when you use your debit card, write it down because a debit card is just an electronic check. And when you spend it, it's going to come out of your account. Here's the tricky thing. Not all vendors take the money out immediately. So if you think you just went to Walmart and you spent $20 and you thought you had $70 in there and you think now you should have 50, but you see 70 and you say, oh, maybe I was wrong, maybe I had 90. And so now you think you have 70, but you really have 50 because Walmart hasn't taken it out in this example. Not necessarily Walmart, but somebody will do that. And it will throw you off and it can cause you to have an overdraft, which is expensive unless you've got your account linked to something else for overdraft protection. But there's still fees associated with that as well, just not as intense a fee as an overdraft fee, okay? So, at most banks. Now, I don't know about credit unions. They probably have more free services, but a bank will charge you fees for that. All right, so next thing is, what if you haven't balanced your checking account in a while and you don't know what your balance is? Well, then I'm going to recommend that you use the bank's balance and think of everything that you've spent in the last week as close as you can. Maybe you stuck them in your purse, all the receipts. Go through and see if you see everything on the account statement. Now, you can go online for online banking, which is what I recommend. Don't be afraid of online banking. you're already on online banking because your information with the bank or the credit union is out there on the system. The only thing you're doing is tapping into it. Anyone can tap into it who has the information to tap in, so don't be afraid. You're going to set up a nice secure account code and password and all that stuff, and you'll be able to look at it. So don't be afraid. Just do it, right? Have no fear. Plan. Get rid of your fear. All right, so go online and check your balance. You can look at the most recent transactions on there. Last month's balances will be in statements that you can also access online. Most companies have you can access your statements for quite a while back, at least a couple years. So, and if you need anything further or an old check or whatever, you just go to your banker and you say, I need a copy of this check written for this amount on this date. I'm sorry, I don't have the bank checking account number, whatever. They can find it for you. Or I need a copy of a statement from 3 years ago that I can't find online. They'll get it for you, okay? All right, so I'm sorry to get off into all that, but it's just, it's people get so overwhelmed and it's not that hard. So what I want you to do is use that bank account balance, and then if you don't see something that you know you spent, like that $20 at Walmart in the example I used, actually more often it happens with gas pumps, where it won't show up for a little bit. Not always, but sometimes. So write that down in your book, you know, to subtract it from the balance that you have if something's out there. Now, there may be other things out there because those vendors have a long time to claim that money. It doesn't have to be, you know, in the next couple of days. It can be longer than that. So what you're going to do is every week you're going to rebalance your account and see if it matches what the bank says. So every time you use your debit card or you write a check or you go pull a withdrawal out, you're going to subtract it just like if it was any other deduction, like a check, and get your new balance. And it should match what the bank has. If it doesn't, then you may have to adjust for a little bit until you can say, okay, everything must have come in because now it's balancing, right? And by adjustment, I mean if it's off by $1.26, you just subtract $1.26 and write adjustment. That's what you have to do. And then once you've done it, then you have a nice bank balance. And then when your bank is balanced, that's what you want to do. You don't want to just assume that you have money in the bank, okay? And then you're going to need a budget for this day as well. So if you don't have a budget, then all you need is you don't have to have any fancy systems. Just get a spiral bound notebook and think in the next 3 days of all the charges that you know that come out every month. Look online and see what's coming out. Look at an old statement and see, but you're going to think of things as you're driving down the street. So keep your book with you for a couple of days. You're going to say, oh, I forgot the Girl Scout dues every quarter. Let me write that in there, right? And when you get to a red light, write it in there, or remember when you stop to write it in there. Oh, I forgot that we have to pay dues where we live. You know, we have those kind of dues, like HOA fees or whatever, and that kind of thing. Or maybe your house is paid for. Oh, I forgot we're going to have to pay taxes on the house, right? Because it's not in your mortgage anymore. You're paying it yourself. So write those things down, and then once you think you've got it all, after about 3 or 4 days, now we're not including prescriptions unless it's a regular prescription, but we're not including future prescription, possible expenses, clothes. We are including groceries, things that you know you're spending right now. And then say, okay, this is how much money I spend every month to live the way I'm living right now. Now take the income that you get and subtract what you've been spending every month. Is there more month than money? Then you need to cut something out. And I'm not going to say you don't need to at this point, because you really need to. It's a need for you, not a need for me. But I don't usually say should or need, but in this case, you really need to. If you have money left over, then great. Now you can say, okay, now we can do savings. We can do clothing. We could do health care. You know, you're going to have different areas that you need to save in. Now, listen, I want you, before you subtract everything, I want you to take anything that's annual, like taxes on your home, and divide that by 12 and say, okay, this is how much I need to set aside every month. Now, I'm telling you right now, for next year, it's too late. I mean, it's not too late, but you're going to have to save a bunch every month so that by whenever you pay your taxes, you'll have enough. But maybe you have a bunch. Maybe you can do that. If not, you're going to have to take it out of a savings or put it on a credit card, which I just hate for you. But you have to pay your taxes, right, in this example. All right, so then I want you to go forward saying, okay, I'm going to start saving. So after you've done that, after you've got your budget, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to start saving. So I want to save for taxes. I want to save for prescriptions and health care, all those copays. I want to save for clothing. I need a clothing budget. I want to save for vacation. I want to save for holiday expenses, Thanksgiving and Christmas, whatever. Okay, that's 5 different savings accounts that you can open for free if you have the right kind of checking account. If your bank doesn't offer you a free savings account, don't you dare do that. If your bank says you have to have $300 in the account, unless you have $300 to plop into each of those accounts, don't you open that. Either do a combined one and keep track, or go somewhere else where you can get a free savings account, or ask the banker, how can I qualify for a free savings account? At my bank, I can have as many as I want just because I have direct deposit into my main checking account. So I get as many savings accounts as I want. So I have several savings accounts. I have a tax one. I have a holidays. I don't have a clothing budget. I put that in my regular spending money, and I don't need to have a health copay. I don't have an issue with that. But if you do, those are the kinds, I'm just trying to give you ideas of things you want to do. And vacation, I just put that with holiday spending. Okay, that's how I do it. But you can do it any way you want, as long as you know it's separate money. And if you touch it, you're impacting your future. That's what you want to do. Okay, but first, the first month, get it all settled, and then pay them. Don't have spending money. You're going to be on a budget this first month, a tight budget. Don't have any spending money. Put everything in savings. Now, here's the thing: you need an emergency account too. And they say 3 months savings. 3 months of those expenses that I talked about. 3 months of that would be your emergency savings account. I know you're not going to be able to put 3 months in right away, not even a half a month in right away, but do the best you can and have a goal of at least a month. And then once that's there, then increase it to go to a month and a half, and then 2 months. And eventually you will have 3 months. It might take you 3 years to get there, but you'll have it. And that's for when you have a flat tire, you need a new battery, things you just haven't planned for. It's not for clothing. It's not for medical, unless it's a medical emergency. It's not for medical. It's not for taxes, right? All right. So I just wanted to give you that little budget tip. All right. So now we're going to balance our checking account every week. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go and look in our kitchen. We're going to continue our planning. So we're going to go in the kitchen, wipe the refrigerator down inside and out, just a quick little wipe with a damp microfiber towel. Throw out all the, I know you've heard me say this on the YouTube channel, throw out the wilted lettuce, the pickles that look a little foggy, the questionable leftovers. Get that out of there and take stock. Think about why those things are in there. Are you continuing to buy too much celery, bell pepper, jalapenos, cabbage, whatever it is? Then maybe you need to consider planning to use that during that week, because it's only good for about a week. Sometimes celery will go 2 weeks if you wrap it in damp paper towels and tin foil. There's all these little tricks, but why? Just plan to use it. So say, okay, we're going to have stuffed celery with cream cheese on Sunday, and I'm going to use celery in my stew on Tuesday, and I'm going to put it in my chicken soup on Friday. And with what's left, I can freeze it to use for soups and stews later and chop it up and put it in there. So you don't have that constant waste, but you need to remember what's in your freezer. I constantly put bell peppers and onions in my freezer, but you can put a lot of things in your freezer. Look it up online. And then also, if your milk is going bad, maybe you need to buy smaller milk. If you're running out of milk constantly, maybe you need to buy 2 big jugs. Rethink it. Now's the time to make a list of the things that you need. You're out of butter, you're out of mayonnaise, you're out of soy sauce, maybe, or Worcestershire sauce. I don't know if that's in the refrigerator. I don't keep mine in the refrigerator, but I do keep sriracha in there. Maybe you need some of that. Okay, and then look in your freezer, look in your pantry, and then I want you to look at those things and say, okay, what can I make out of all the stuff that I have? Ooh, I can make a shepherd's pie. I've got some leftover potatoes. I have some leftover chicken. I have onion. I have celery. I have frozen peas and carrots. Whatever it is you're going to put in it. I've got flour. I've got a frozen pie crust. If you're going to make a chicken pie, whatever it is, you could say, okay, I can make that. shepherd's pie doesn't have a pie crust, but you know what I'm saying. A chicken pie would. I've got some leftover ham. I've got a half a head of cabbage, so I can make ham and cabbage. Maybe put some carrots and onions in it. Yeah, that would be good. And some potatoes. I have some new potatoes, right? So that's another meal. Maybe you need more ham. I don't know. But I'm trying to just give you an idea. You may have, go in your freezer, you may have frozen some lunch meat. You don't need to buy lunch meat this week. Maybe you have some hot dogs in there. That would be another meal you could have. You just maybe need to get some buns, or maybe you're going to serve it with beans and have beanie weenies, whatever it is your family likes. I'm just trying to give you some ideas. I know I keep saying that, but I don't want you to take what I'm saying literally. I want you to come up with your own ideas, what you want to eat. I do, though, want you to make it as simple as it can be, because it'll make life easier. And then have that more complicated meal once or twice a week. If you love to cook, but don't cook at the expense of everything else. Just make simpler meals. Don't give your kids snacks before mealtime, or they won't eat their dinner. And then you're giving them the dinosaur chicken nuggets, and you know how you feel about those. They're okay in a pinch, but that's not something you want them to eat when the family's having spaghetti and salad and garlic bread, right? You want them to be hungry for that and learn how to eat those foods. So the next thing you're going to do is say, okay, that's all I can make. I can make 3 meals. Oh no, I've got these spaghetti noodles and I've got some hamburger in the freezer. I just need some spaghetti sauce. So I can make spaghetti, okay? And maybe I need some garlic knots or whatever you're going to serve with it, in a bag of salad, whatever. So you can start to fill in the holes, and then so you're making a grocery list based on that menu, and then maybe you need 2 or 3 other meals entirely, and you're going to have to buy all the things for that. Now, don't forget about breakfast and lunch and snacks. So every day, plan out something. Does it mean you're going to eat it every day that day? No, you can switch it around, or maybe it's going to carry over to the next week, but don't let it get wasted. All right, there's usually a day or two carryover. It always happens. But you're going to save so much money when you do this, and you're going to have a peace of mind because you're going to say, I have dinner, right? Tonight, I was going to make spaghetti. That's why I keep saying spaghetti and salad and garlic knots for my mother and father, but my mother's sick, so instead I made her a large pot of chicken noodle soup. My father doesn't like chicken noodle soup. I don't know why. I think it's totally delicious. So I told him to stop on his way home at a drive-through and pick up something he loves. So he'll get himself some chicken or some fish or a hamburger, and he hasn't done that in the last couple of weeks. So it doesn't hurt. He can do that. And he said, okay, baby. He doesn't care. And that way, I don't have to make a meal for one person because I won't eat it. I'm on keto, right? So I won't eat it. I just eat something proteiny, and I have stuff in there I can eat. So I can fry myself an egg. It doesn't matter. But the next thing we want to do is make our grocery list. Okay, so now you're going to look at your budget. How much did you budget for the month for groceries? That's something you're going to have to come up with. I'm going to tell you, for my husband and I spend $100 a week. For my mother and father and I, or the sisters, we each spend $100 a week. Now, we have a little slush fund. We call it our funny money. Keep about $100 in there, so if we go $12 over or whatever, we have the money. Like this week, I went over a little bit because I bought a meat package for my parents, a little $30 meat package. But it was more than I had planned on spending. So, but there's a budget there. So my sisters will have extra meat they won't have to buy. So they'll probably have money left over, which can go in the funny money. It all works. But for at home, I take $100 for the 3 weeks that I'm home, so $300, and I give Larry $100 for the week I'm not there, because I'm at my parents' house. So with that $100, Larry doesn't just buy for only himself for the $100. He also buys our toilet paper and paper towels and things like that. So he spends about $75 on himself, which is more than I would spend on the 2 of us. I don't spend $150. However, eating for 2 is cheaper than eating for 1. All right, so that's the plan. That's how I do it. So rethink how much you're spending. People spend thousands of dollars when it's not necessary. You just have to be smart. You just have to be smart and plan it out, okay? And then when you go to the grocery store, make sure you put your list in chunks, right? Fresh fruits and vegetables, canned items, dry goods, spices and cooking things, flour and sugar and things like that, cookies and cereal, breads, dairy, cheese. I know that's dairy, but it's kind of in a different area. Cheese and butter and eggs, yogurt and ice cream, frozen foods, frozen vegetables. Kind of write them in little chunks and kind of think about how your store is and go through there. Now, sometimes you won't be able to get everything at one store, so mark it off as you're going, and then what's left, you can say, okay, I can get these things at Walmart or Publix or Kroger's or Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or Earth Fare, whatever you're going to. You know, you can split it up. And I sometimes put little letters by it, like EF for Earth Fare. So I know I'm going to get these particular items at Earth Fare. I'm going to get the P at Publix. I'm going to get the W at Walmart. Now, I'm single. I mean, I'm not single. I don't have children. I'm married, but I don't have children. I'm an empty nester. So I have the luxury of shopping all over the place. If I had kids, I couldn't do that. I'd have to just go to one store and get it done. So it would be Walmart. And if they didn't have it, then I would do a substitution. That's how I do that. All right? And I was on a budget, so I couldn't go buy things at all the fancier stores. Like Publix is what I consider a fancier store, right? All right. And then after you've got your budget, then I want you to look at your list and put what you guesstimate the price is for each thing. Now, you've been grocery shopping for a long time, so you'll know this is about $2, this is about $3. Almost everything is about $3 at the grocery store. Some things you know are 99 cents, but most things are at least $3. So you can add it up and say, okay, this is going to cost me $125. But I need to make those cookies for Christmas, so I've got to have those chocolate chips and that vanilla and those cinnamon sticks or whatever it is. So that can kind of be out of my Christmas budget. Because when you make a Christmas budget, you want to include food. Or a Thanksgiving budget, that's a food budget. It's a little bit more than you normally spend. All right, so then, what else is it? Then that's it. That's it. So you've cleaned out your fridge a little bit. You've made a menu. You've planned your food. You have a budget, and you've balanced your checking account. That's what you do on Wednesdays. These things ignored can cause you to go into a grand depression because you are so overwhelmed, because you don't know how much money you have, you're out of control, you've overdrafted, you don't want to tell your husband, he's going to be mad again because you bounced something out. So let's stop the insanity. Take the reins. You can do this. You are a good steward of your funds, right? And you're a good mom. And you be firm with your inner child. Don't let her rule the roost. You rule the roost. You're still kind, even to yourself, but you're firm, okay? And see how you can do this first month on your tighter budget. And then next month you can put in a little spending money for yourself. And one final note, if two people live together, they generally don't think the same about money. If you're handling the money, your husband is constantly overspending, then I'm going to suggest, like I did with all of my clients at the bank, everybody needs a household account, which is joint for paying the bills, but only one person pays them. And both of you can look at it anytime you want. And then you each need a private, personal spending account where you put your own spending money and you can spend it any way you please. Doesn't mean you can go back and get more. After it's gone, it's gone. The same with him. If he has to buy, if he's a bad spender and he buys lunch every day, then you talk about a reasonable budget for that and how much he can spend, and explain to him that you're on a budget and this is, okay, I'm going to give you that much every day. Say it's $10 a day. But that's it. You can't be buying for the rest of the team at work, right? You can only buy your own lunch. You can save it up. You can just spend a couple. I'll even buy you lunch meat and you can make a sandwich, but I will still give you your spending money. And talk about it. And then once everybody has their money, then however they choose to spend it is up to them. Okay, that'll bring a lot more peace and harmony in the household, and also it will keep the household account from bouncing. Another thing you want to do is set up the debit card so that it will not work if there's no money in the account. So if somebody's constantly overdrafting the account, you can stop that. So if that's your husband or you can stop it. Okay, you'll be embarrassed when you get there and it won't work because you haven't been keeping track of what you spent in your little budget keeper, your little check register, which you keep in your purse, so you know how much is in there. Okay, all right, that's it for today. I know this was a little bit long, but everybody always wants that budget talk, and this is it. It comes in on the spending day. I hope you have a beautiful day. I'm so excited you're getting this information. Please feel free to ask me any questions or make suggestions for future videos. I am going to continue to go through the basic weekly plan and the zones before I get into newer things. But I will keep track of what you want if you'll put it in the comments and questions. If you have questions about this particular video, please feel free to ask me. I do check my comments and questions twice a day. If there's no question and it's just a comment or a compliment, I just put a little heart on it. If there's something that I feel needs to be addressed or you've done something phenomenal, I'll put a little note in there. Have a fabulous day, and always remember that you are beautiful.